points that you receive, these are not pogs, they're not poker chips. Keep these safe. If you ever make it out to Key West, Florida, take this point to the distillery. I gave you guys 2 each, so you and your friend, take this to the distillery, and this will get you a tour of the distillery in Key West, Florida, along with a rum tasting. So Papa's Pilar rum, like I said, is associated with Ernest Hemingway and his family. Every man's life ends the same way. It is only the details of how he lived and how he died that distinguishes one man from another. And this was like a huge thing about Ernest Hemingway. He was a traveler. He was a conservator. He was an adventurer. He loved to travel the seas, and that's where he was inspired by his stories. And for me to be able to work with a company centered around someone who wrote stories and doing competitions where I have to tell stories, it kind of went hand in hand. And that's one of the reasons why I really like working for this company. This is Papa's Pilar on his boat. I can't stand it to think of my life as going so fast and not really living it. So he really wanted to live life. He really wanted to experience life and draw upon that. And he shared that through all his literary works. This is our distillery. It's in the heart of Key West, Florida. It's definitely a really beautiful scenic drive if you ever make it out there. Absolutely gorgeous. We are a very nautical brand because Hemingway loved to travel the seas. So we work a lot with companies, like I said, with ocean conservation. We work with a lot of fishing companies to help promote ocean conservation. So we are a premium blended rum inspired by Hemingway and his boat Pilar. So that's where you get the name from. Papa is what we call Ernest Hemingway. Pilar is the name of his boat. We do draw a lot of our rums from all over the Caribbean, as well as North, Central, and South America. So we do get some of our juices from Venezuela, from Barbados, some from Florida. So we do kind of pull all our rums from different places, or all our juices from different places. And again, kind of sticking to that whole concept of Hemingway being a world traveler and, really kind of pulling in from different cultures and different places. So our rum is actually a really nice blend of all these different juices from the Caribbean, North, Central, and South America. This kind of gives you a little background information on who Papa's Pilar was. He was an author, free thinker, adventurer, sportsman, and bon vivant. But one thing he was not is he was not a spectator. He did not like to sit around and just watch. He wanted to take part and be very active. The homage of the name of Papa's Pilar is Papa himself, plus Pilar, his boat, and there you have the Papa's Pilar rum. Hemingway redesigned this bottle after World War II canteen bottles. So that's where the shape of these bottles come from. This is when I said that we deal a lot with ocean conservation literacy programs. These are some of the different organizations that we actually work with and give back to. We always want to commit to sustainable practices, ethical angling, and altruistic programming. The Pilar package epitomizes adventure and features discovery points throughout. The compass on top of each bottle, there's actually a compass for the cap. It's not an actual working compass, but it is a picture of a compass. So it represents adventure. The pen quills, that was a nod to their favorite iconic author. And the rooster, which you see right here, pays homage to Hemingway's love for Key West. Ron Call is our master distiller and blender. He's been there for a little over 45 years now, distilling and blending our rums. And then Sean Martin is our Key West distiller and blender. But Ron Call is kind of our main guy. So whenever we come out with a new expression, Ron Call is the one that kind of creates that special release. I'll show you our last one that we did was called the Legacy Edition. It was a unique blend of our dark rum, but we actually finished it off in rye barrels versus the typical bourbon, port, and sherry cask barrels that we normally age it in. We actually finished that off in rye barrels, so it had a little bit more of a spicier note to it. To be honest, it kind of really cut a lot of that burn that you normally get when you drink rum sometimes. Our rum blending process is we use the Solera style system. So as you can see here, the bottom barrels here are going to be our oldest rum, or the oldest aged. On the top is going to be our youngest. And so on the bottles here, on this one here, for the blonde, it says 7. So the combination of all the years that are put into is a combination of 7 years between all the different barrels that we use. The combination is 7 years of rum, of aging combined together to make our blonde. For the dark, we do 24 years. So when it says 24 years, it's not that this was aged for 24 years. It's a combination of all the different blends. So sourcing, we source our rums from Dominican Republic, Panama, Venezuela, Barbados, and Florida, where we distill our rum. And then as far as the blending, we actually source bourbon barrels from bourbon companies. We don't have a specific one that we work with, but we do get our Oloroso sherry casks from Spain. So we also do use those, as well as port wine casks. So we use 3 different types of barrels to age our rum in. I believe the blonde gets the bourbon and the sherry. The dark has all 3. And then the sherry cask, we actually use our dark, but then we finish it off even longer in another sherry, Oloroso sherry cask as well. So this is our portfolio. You have our blonde, our dark, and our sherry cask. You should have 3 different expressions in front of you. The lightest one, of course, is going to be your Pilar blonde. This is going to be the lightest one of all of them. We are probably one of the only blonde rums out there, and the blonde color that you see, the light hint of yellow, is actually from the barrel. So it's not something that we actually add into it. You'll get lots of hints of like citrus and lemongrass. I get a little bit of vanilla in there as well, which is one of the reasons why I really like using the Pilar blonde. It's really easy to blend with. Really makes a great daiquiri because it's super light and refreshing, and because it's not just your basic rum, and you do get a little hint of that citrus, lemongrass, and vanilla. It definitely changes the composition of that daiquiri. Not making it like basic, but kind of elevating it a little bit more in that way. And this one is blended in bourbon barrels and Oloroso sherry casks. I had overproofed at 84. And this is where you get that nice straw-colored rum, a little bit more of a creamy mouthfeel, but it's great, like I said, for your simple, like daiquiri-style cocktails. This is definitely one that I like to use. The next one should be the Pilar dark rum. The dark rum combines the original dark spirit with the affinity for bourbon oak. The dark rum is blended with American oak bourbon barrels, port wine casks, and Spanish Oloroso sherry casks. And it's definitely got, if you sniff that one, you're definitely getting a lot more of that caramel, butterscotchy kind of essence in that one. And one thing I love, and even if you're not a huge rum drinker, it really stands up to like a bourbon or a cognac. And I really love using this specific one to make the old-fashioned with, because it has all those beautiful bourbon-esque kind of characteristics in the rum itself already. And that's all being drawn from the bourbon barrels themselves. And then adding a little bit more of that sweetness from the port and the sherry casks. So like I said, like old-fashioned Manhattan, this is definitely the way to go. And then last but not least, the last one that you have there is our sherry finished rum. So this is one of our latest expressions. We take our dark rum, age it in the bourbon, port, and sherry casks, and then we finish it even further and even longer in the sherry cask some more. So it's going to have a little bit more of that sherry essence in it compared to the dark. So that's the reason why I wanted to give you both, so you can try the dark by itself, but then also taste the sherry version as well, where it's just a little bit, it's not a huge difference, but there is a little bit of a slighter difference in that you get a little bit more of that sherry essence in that last one. I get a lot more of like that dried fruit, plummy, almost from the sherry as far as the finish is concerned. We actually got the SIP awards for our sherry finished rum. And then this was the legacy edition I was telling you. We released it in September of 2021, so if you can find any, good luck. I hope you can, because it is probably one of the best rums I think I've ever had. And I'm very, very finicky about pouring it at home because I only have one bottle left. But the cool thing is it came with a leather pouch, legacy edition. The actual bottle itself had a brass label, which you don't see in any of these. These are just kind of all printed on. But every year, Ron Call will come out with a special edition rum. So last year, we had the legacy edition. So he's currently working on this year's legacy edition release. So I haven't tried it yet. I am waiting for them to ship me a bottle. But it is a great rum, and like I said, one of the reasons why I like this legacy edition is because they finished off in the rye barrels. That rye barrel, that spiciness that you get in the rye from the rye whiskey that was sitting in that barrel really kind of mellows out some of the sweetness too, and really smooths out the rum in general and rounds it out. It's like I said, if you can find a bottle, I would strongly recommend picking it up because we do not produce it anymore. And we also do barrel programs there too. So if you work at a restaurant or you run a bar program, and you think that they might be interested in something like this, we do a barrel program. We currently have some sherry ones, personal sherry casks. And because each barrel is a little bit different and each cask is a little bit different, we have a limited amount. I believe we only came out with 24 sherry casks for this barrel program. And if your restaurant does decide to jump on it, we actually put the label, on the label on the side of the bottle here, we'll actually have the logo of your restaurant on it. And we also provide a gigantic barrel head. The barrel head from your cask gets sent to you or to your restaurant to display and kind of show off your rum. We do have a cocktail that I made with the blonde for you guys. Something a little bit more refreshing, especially for the fall season coming in. I kind of did a riff on almost like a dark and stormy, but it's not dark and stormy. It's kind of light and stormy since I used the blonde rum. I also put a little bit of pressed apple juice, fresh mint, and a little ginger beer, and we're garnishing it with some cinnamon chips. So for this particular one, I really wanted to kind of play on the fall flavors. And, you know, with us being in October right now, a lot of people are kind of into pumpkin spice, but pumpkin spice, in my opinion, is a little overplayed. A lot of people forget about apples. Apples are a great fall flavor. One of my favorite pies is apple pie.